My lesson plan topic is synonyms and antonyms, and I would start off by defining and explaining each of those terms and annotation. So I would use the strategy and introduce by asking, how do you figure out what a word means? And after the kids answer, I would explain that a good strategy is to find synonyms for the unknown word. An example would be if the cat was tiny, another word for tiny is small, so the sentence could also be the cat was small. It's two words. Synonym is two words that have similar meanings. So think synonym equals same. An anonym is the opposite of a synonym. If synonym means same, what would anonym mean? Once the kids answer, then I would explain that it means the opposite of the same, which is different. An example would be the cat was tiny, and an anonym for tiny is large, so the sentence could be the cat was large. An anonym means opposite. So once we go over that a few times, we can repeat synonym is same and anonym is opposite. And then I would go on to explain annotation, and that means taking notes while you're reading, and it helps you to remember the main idea and circling words that you don't know the meaning of. So I would tell them to go pick out a book from our class library and explain that we're going to be reading independently for about 10 minutes. I would dismiss table by table, or about 4 students at a time, to find a book in the classroom, and I would remind them to use the 5-finger rule, which is if you read the first page of a book and you hold your hand up, every time you don't know a word, you put a finger down, and if you get more than about 4 or 5, then the book is probably too challenging for you, and it just helps them to find one that's in their reading level. So the students would read silently for about 10 minutes and annotate while doing that. And then I would break the kids into teacher-assigned small groups, about 4 students in a group, and each student will give a quick summary of the book that they read, or the section of the book that they read, and talk about the unknown words that they found in their book. The peers would help to find synonyms and antonyms for the unknown words, and they would discuss this for about 5 minutes, and then I would call the class back together as a whole so that we can go over the unknown words together. And if there's still words that nobody knows, then I would step in and go over them and help explain it, or maybe find it in the dictionary and explain that strategy as well. So strategies for the English language learners would be leveled questions. This helps teachers to scaffold and helps the student to get a better understanding of the question. If they don't know what I'm asking, they are highly unlikely to answer correctly or even at all. So making sure that I have the correct vocabulary, or maybe having a little bit lower vocabulary so that they will be able to understand and answer the questions. Another strategy is having bilingual books and labels around my classroom, so they could pick a bilingual book to read during the solo reading time and use that instead of an English book. And this would be very beneficial for the lesson, because if they choose a book in English, they are having trouble reading it, and they can use the book that's written in their native language to find words they don't know, and they can make sure they're on the right track. So going back and forth maybe between the English book and their native language book. The last strategy is small groups and partners. So working with their peers, the English language learners would work with their peers, and that helps them increase their social and academic vocabulary. The more comfortable they are around their friends, the more they're willing to take risk in language, and the more success they will have. The content assessment is a pre-assessment, and it will be formative. It's about their prior knowledge of synonyms and antonyms. So we'll have a matching worksheet with common adjectives and have them draw a line to the synonym. and on the back it would be the same key phrases, but they'll have to draw a line to their antonyms. So on the left column would be the same words, and on the right column it would be on the front synonyms and on the back antonyms. And the post-assessment is also formative, and I would just take notes while the class is closing with the discussion once we come back together after small groups. And the words that they didn't know, I would jot down, and who didn't know them, who their group was that helped, and figure out what the word meant. And my rationale behind this is that during reading, partners in small groups and whole class instruction helped increase their vocabulary knowledge. The language assessment is during the activity assessment that will also be formative, and there'll be an observational checklist, and I'll just take notes about who is reading with ease and who seems to be struggling, and I'll make sure that the struggling students will get to talk about it in their small group and during reading if they ask their partner for help. The post-assessment is also formative, and it will I'll give them the same worksheet and that I gave to the class at the beginning, and the matching adjectives. It'll just be the same for the English language learners as it will for the other students. And my rationale behind this is during reading, partners, small group, and whole class instruction helps to increase their grade level vocabulary knowledge and to speak with more accuracy. And that's it.